Hey everyone, my name is Riley, and in this video I am going to be showing you step by step how you can build a blog with System.io. This tutorial covers everything step by step, click by click, so no matter your experience level, whether you have never built a blog before or you are a master at building blogs, this video is going to contain everything that you need. I will be covering how you can set up your blog for completely free, how you can fully customize the homepage of your blog to make this look beautiful and professional, how to customize the different pages of your blog, as well as how you can create blog posts in under 2 minutes using AI. All you have to do is follow along with this tutorial and you will walk away from this video with a beautiful blog. Now, before we jump in, if you want to get access to my free System.io funnel pack that includes done for you funnel templates, email sequences, and a full beginner training, you can get access to this for completely free using the link in the description. So step number one, the very first thing that you have to do is of course sign up for System.io. If you use the first link down in the description, you can go ahead and get started with System.io for completely free. So make sure you click on that link so that we are both starting at the same point. And then as you can see, this is going to take us over to System.io. The first thing that you want to do is just enter your email into this box right here. Click on Get My Free Account. And then that will take you through and allow you to create your free System.io account. Now, the first thing that I want to mention is in terms of the pricing, I recommend going with the free trial to start out. You can go for one of these more paid plans like the $27 or $47. However, for what we are creating in this video, there is not really any point. Now, moving over to here, you can see with the free plan, you can create one free blog. Now, this does not mean you can create one blog article. This means you can create one blog and we can create unlimited blog posts within that blog. If you do want to create more blogs, for example, if you want a blog in the finance niche and then one about pets or something like this, then you can go with one of the paid plans, but we are only going to be creating one blog in this video. So once you have signed in and you have created your System.io account, you should be taken over to a screen that looks like this. So the first thing that we are going to do here is just go up to blogs at the top. And that is going to take us over to the blogs area. Now, as you can see, this list is empty because we do not yet have a blog. So the first thing that we are going to do is actually go ahead and create the blog. We do this by clicking on this create button in the top right corner, and then we can go ahead and choose a name for this blog. So I will call this GeForce North Coffee. And in this example, I will just build a blog around coffee, different types of coffee beans, and everything like that. Now, for the domain name, this is automatically going to be your System.io account name .system.io. Now, you can go ahead and change the domain if you want to get a more professional domain, and I will show you exactly how to do that right now. Now, this video will be timestamped, so if you just want to go with this free domain, then you can skip to the next section. However, I will say that when you are creating a blog, having a professional domain is super important. It costs around $15 for a domain, so it's completely up to you if you want one. However, I would recommend getting one. The way that we actually do this is just exit out of the blog right here, and then you should see your profile icon in this top right corner. Just go ahead and hover over that, and then you should see the settings button right here that we can click into. And then over here on the left hand side, from this left hand side menu, click into custom domains. As you can see, we currently have one domain, and this will be the default domain that is set by System.io. So all we are going to do to grab a new domain is click on add domain in this top right corner, and then you can go ahead and enter in the domain name. If you do not yet have a domain, click on the link down in the description for Namecheap, and that is going to take you over to this page right here. I recommend Namecheap as the domain registrar as it is super easy and simple to set up with System. So all we are going to do is once you are on Namecheap, it should take you over to a page that looks like this. And all you need to do is enter in the domain name that you would like to buy. If you do not have any idea about what your domain name is going to be, I recommend using this platform right here called ChatGPT Once again, I will leave a link down in the description. It's completely free to use, and this is an awesome tool. Not only can we use ChatGPT to find us a domain name, but later on, we are going to be using ChatGPT to also help us create the blog content. So make sure that you go ahead and sign up to ChatGPT. As I say, it is completely free. And then in here, to find a domain, I can go ahead and type in create me a domain name, and then I said coffee right here because this is a coffee blog, but you just want to type in create me a domain name for whatever blog you are creating. Now this will give us one single domain, but I like to go here and say give me 20 more, and this is going to give us 20 different domain names that we can use. Now the only downside to ChatGPT is not all of these domains are going to be available. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So find the domain that you like, and then we can go back over to Namecheap and paste it in right here. Let's go ahead and hit search and see if this is available. And this one right here is already taken by somebody, which is why we can make an offer. But no worries, let's go back and try another one. So as you can see, I found this one, caffeinecanvas.com, and this is available for £7. I think this is like $10 per year. So we can just go ahead and add this to cart. Now, something super important that I will mention here is you always want your domain for your blog to be a .com domain. If we go down, we can see domains such as .coffee, .org, .bot. Make sure you don't use any of these because it just makes your website look less professional. You want to make sure that the .com domain is available, add this to cart, and then we can go ahead and click on checkout. That will then take you over to this page. You can choose how long you want to register this domain for. There is going to be some extra discounts the longer you spread this out. So go ahead and choose the length of time. Then also make sure domain privacy is on. This is completely free and comes with the domain, so you want to make sure this is enabled. And then this is also super important. We want to go down and add SSL. So go ahead and add this to the cart. The reason that we want to add this is because this gives your site this padlock icon right here that says connection is secure. If we do not have SSL, then when people try to access your website, it's going to give them a message that looks like this, that says, hey, this website is probably a scam, and then people are not going to visit the website. So once all of this is added, you should also have Stellar Hosting in your cart. This is automatically added by Namecheap, and there is no reason for us to have this. So just go ahead and delete this from your cart. And then from here, this is around $15 in total. So we can go ahead and confirm order, create your Namecheap account right here, and then you can go ahead and purchase your domain. Once you have bought your domain and you now own this domain, just click on account in the top right corner of Namecheap, and that will take you over to this screen right here. Now, as you can see, I already have a few different domains, and the one that I am going to connect is this one right here called GeForce North. However, right here for you, there should only be one domain, the domain that you just bought. So all you have to do is, first of all, grab the domain that you just bought, and then we want to go back over to system.io and go ahead and paste this in. Now, when you paste this in, it will say it needs to start with www. So just type in www and then yourdomain.com. From here, we can click on save, and it will then take you over to this screen where it says DNS configuration for your domain. So from here, just go back over to Namecheap, and then where it says your domain, over on the right hand side, we should have this button that says manage. So just go ahead and click into this. And that is going to take you over to this screen. Along the top, you should have a menu that says domain, products, sharing and transfer, and advanced DNS. So we just want to click into advanced DNS. Down here, you should see a few different records, and although this looks fairly confusing, it's actually super simple. So all we are going to do is just go ahead and delete the 2 records that are in here. Go ahead and delete both of these, and make sure this section right here is now blank. It should say no records found. Then we want to click on add a new record. Go back over to system.io, and we can see this is asking for a CNAME record. So then we can go back over to Namecheap, Scroll down on this menu and click on CNAME. And then in the host, just type in www. Then we can go back over to system.io. And we want to grab this second piece of text from this top line. So grab the second piece of text. Then we can go back over to Namecheap and paste this into the target, just like that. And then once that is done, click on this check mark to save the changes. And that is the first CNAME record added. The second thing that we need to do is just go to add a new record. Once again, choose CNAME. And then we want to go back over to system.io. Grab all of this without the period for this first one. And then paste this into the host. And then for the target, copy all of this, including the period. We can then go back over to Namecheap, paste this in, and click on this checkmark icon. And we now have this domain all set up. Once that is all set up, we want to use this website called dnschecker.org. Once again, I will leave a link down in the description. And then all you have to do is let's just go back over to system.io, copy the name of your domain, and paste this into DNS Checker. This is just going to check that if what we just did has worked, and you should see this straight away where we have a lot of these X's. However, if we do have some of these check marks right here, this means that what we did just worked and we now have our domain set up. It usually takes up to 24 hours for your domain to fully propagate across the entire world. But as I say, as long as we have some of these check marks, it means that what we did has worked. And all we have to do is wait for the rest of these X's. So if we just go back over to system.io, we can see the domain is still pending validation, which means we will have to wait for this to fully propagate. As you can see though, this is nothing to worry about. It can take between 24 and 48 hours before the DNS records are propagated. Now, what this also means is that we cannot yet use the domain on your website until it has been fully propagated. However, there is no need to worry as we can go back in and change this later. So if we just go back to blogs at the top and click on create in the top right corner, we can now go ahead and start creating the blog. So for the domain name, if we do go ahead and click down, we can see this will not give us the option to enter in the new domain. However, when the domain has fully propagated and been verified, we will be able to change the domain name to our selected domain. However, don't worry, I will show you how we can go in and change this at any time. So let's just go ahead and create the name of this blog, which is GeForce Coffee for Me. And then for the URL path, we just want to go ahead and keep the same name. However, we can't have a space here. So I will call this GeForce Coffee, just like that. And then from here, we can choose from all of these different templates. So there's about 8 templates to choose from. You can go ahead and choose any of these, and these are all fully customizable. So it's not like you are missing out on any elements by choosing one particular blog over another. This is just some default settings. So I'm going to go ahead from this list and I will actually choose this blog right here. You can preview the template by clicking on this eye icon, and then it's going to take you over to a full screen view so that we can look at this template. So let me actually just go back here and let's go back up. I will choose this template. Once you have found the template that you like, just click on select template and that will select that specific template. We can then click on save here at the bottom, and that is going to go ahead and create that blog. So just like that, this blog has now been created. Over here on the right hand side, we have these 3 dots that will allow us to just go ahead and view the blog like anybody visiting this blog would be able to. And then we can go through, click into these different sections and take a look at all of these pages. Let's back out of that. We can also duplicate the blog, which it will not allow me to do as I am on the free plan. As you can see, it doesn't allow me to create more blogs. We can then share, go into the settings and delete. Now in settings, this is super important if you just bought a domain, because the way that we will set this up later when the domain has been fully propagated is by clicking into settings. And then right here, you can see the domain name. All we need to do is click on this drop down menu, and then after the 24 to 48 hour period, your domain name will show up right here. So you can just select this and then have this as the main domain. Let's back out of this though, and now we can click into this blog. And as you can see, we are given some filler content with the blog posts. We can come back to this later though. Let's first of all go into pages. And as you can see, we have the home page, the post list page, the about page, and the contact page. So the first thing that we are going to edit is the home page. So make sure you are on pages and then click into the home page. And this is going to bring up the home page section that we can now go ahead and edit. So the first thing that I am going to do is give you a quick tutorial on how this editor actually works so that you know exactly how to do this. So the system.io blog editor is made up of these different sections. As you can see, if I hover over this first section, we have the section, and then this first section is highlighted between these two green lines. We can scroll down and see once again the second section is highlighted between these two green lines, and so on and so forth for all of these sections on your blog. Now within each section, we have different elements. So as you can see, if I hover over the text, we have a text headline element, then we have a text element, a form input element, a button, and then an image right here. So basically the editor is made up of different elements within all of these different sections. To edit anything on the site, it's super easy. All we have to do is click into the text, for example, right here. This is going to bring up the text editor, and then we can go ahead and make some changes. So let's just make this say GBoss Coffee as the title. And then just above this, you can see at the top, we have this toolbar that gives us different options. So this heading right here, we can choose between the headings, and this is going to make this bigger and smaller. However, we can have even more customizability by using this section, the main control section on the left-hand side. So let's say I want to turn the font size up. I can do it using this slider right here. I can also choose the line height, which is going to give me some more space. So let's go for about 75 here. That looks cool. We can then also change the font on this left-hand side. So we can choose where we want to get this from. I recommend staying with Google Fonts as it's just the best and gives us the most options. And then in this second box right here, we can go down and actually choose the font. So you can choose the font. I'm just going to stick with Montserrat here. And then we can also choose the font style. The letter spacing can also be tweaked using this right here. I will put this back to 3. And then we also do have a few other options that you can go ahead and play with, but aren't super important. You can also change the color of the text by highlighting the entire text and then using this toolbar at the top. For example, I can change this to a blue, and this is going to update in real time. So for this, I'm just going to go for like a dark green color right here. Leave it just like that. And that is how you can edit the text. This second text box is the exact same. We can go in and start making changes and then use this main toolbar on the left-hand side to go even deeper, change the font size, type, and everything like that. So in here, I'm just going to go ahead and change this to say the best coffee reviews on the internet. Keep it nice and simple. And then I think these are a little bit too close. So all I'm going to do here is just change the line height and add some more space between them. We can also go ahead and change images by simply hovering over this, clicking on this, and then over on this left-hand side, the main control panel. This is effectively where you're going to make all of the changes to your site after you have clicked on individual elements. You can see we have the image file up here that we can go ahead and add in. Now, to get free stock images and videos for your website, I recommend this website right here called Pexels. It's completely free and everything on here is copyright free. You can use all of this. So let's just go through. I'm going to type in coffee and then grab one of these images. So I'm just going to go for this, click download. And as you can see, this has now downloaded. So let's go back over to system and upload this. So all we have to do is click on this cloud icon with this upload mark, and then we can select the file from our computer. We have the Pexels file right here. So let's go ahead and open this up. And then once this has been dropped in, we just select it and click on insert. And just like that, you can see this image has been added. If you see anything on your website that you want to delete, for example, this form input, All you have to do is hover over the element that you would like to delete and click on this trash can icon. We can then delete this, and I'm going to do the same for this button right here. I don't want this. And then as you can see, this is going to leave an empty row, so we can go ahead and delete this as well. You can also rearrange the different elements on your website by simply dragging and dropping. So let's say that I want to move this image right here to be beneath this, just like that. I can go ahead and change that around. So what I'm going to do is move that underneath and then make the image a little bit bigger right here. So let's just go ahead and move this back into this corner up here. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky, but with enough effort, just like that, we can get it back in the same place. So I recommend playing around with this. What I will also mention is if you find a section, we can click on that section and add in a background image. So what might look a lot better here is if I just go ahead and remove this image entirely. And then as you can see, maybe I want to align this in the center. So all I have to do is drag this slider along, whoopsie, just like that. And then I can click on my text, go down on this left-hand side and align this more in the center. And that looks a lot better. What we can then do is once again click into this section, and I'm going to go ahead and upload the image that I just deleted as a background image. So this time, instead of uploading it again, I'm just going to go over to my images section, select this and insert this as the background image. Now, as you can see, that is a little bit smaller than I would want it to be. So if you want to go ahead and expand any sections and make them bigger, just go down to padding on this left-hand side. And then if we go ahead and turn this up, we can do that for the top and the bottom. And you can see that already looks a lot better. Maybe the colors are a little bit off here though. So let's just go ahead and go in here, change these both to white. And as you can see, that does look a lot better. Overall, when you are creating this main homepage of your blog, it's just a thing of tweaking, trying out different things and seeing what looks good. So I'm pretty happy with how this top section looks. And now we can go down, and this is a really handy section to have underneath with these recent articles. Now, as you can see, the articles that we are given here are just these basic starter articles. So later on in the video, we will go ahead and change these and make sure that this looks nice and beautiful. And we have all of our different articles here that people can go ahead and click on. So for now, let's just move down. And then what I would recommend here is we don't want a super complex homepage, as it can kind of throw people off. All we want is this main header, this recent article section. So for the rest of this, let's just go down and delete all of these other sections by hovering over them and clicking on this trash can icon. So category A, category B, category C, we just want to go ahead and delete all of this. Once you have deleted all of them, you should now have this section underneath the recent articles, and this is called the footer. As you can see, we cannot edit this at the moment. However, that is absolutely fine. We just want to leave this as this is. So just like that, we have now created a very simple homepage. And what we need to do now is add in these recent articles. So let's go ahead and save the changes that we just made to this homepage and then back out of the system.io editor. This is going to take us back over to the main page section. So now let's go ahead and go into the posts, and this is where we can actually start editing each individual post that is on our blog. So this is where we can start creating the blog posts. Now you have two different options here. The first is you can click into these pre-built posts that are here by system, just like this, and then we can go through and start editing these. So once again, it's just like the way that we created this homepage where we have all of these different text boxes. So I want to delete this top one. And let's say here is my list of the best coffee beans. And then I could go into all of these different sections, start making changes. And from editing the homepage, I think you guys will have a pretty good understanding of how this all works and how we can make changes to this website using this drag and drop tool. So that is the first option. What I will also mention is if you are trying to edit this, you will notice this title at the top. We cannot just click in and edit. and the same for this image right here. So the way that we change these is just once again save changes and then back out. And then all you need to do is go to the blog that you would like to change the title and add the image to. Click on these three dots in the far right corner, and then in here, go into settings. As you can see, this will load up the settings area. So I'm just going to say the best coffee beans of 2024. We can then also add a short description. So I'm just going to say my collection of the best tasting coffee beans. We can then change the URL path. So to make this look professional, we just want to call this something in relation to the title. So let's call this coffee beans, just like that. And then for the image, we can go ahead and change this. So I don't like this one. I'm going to delete this and then go back over to Pexels to find a new image. This one is perfect. So I will download this. Then we can go back over to system.io and add this image in. Just like that, this has now been added in. So now let's click on save. And we can now click back into this blog article. And you can see this now looks a lot better. We can just go through and edit the rest using the editor that we used earlier. All of the rest of the images and the text here are going to be editable. So that is the first option. You can go in and just start customizing these pages that are pre-built for us. Or secondly, you can click on create in this top right corner, and this is going to bring in a blank page. So maybe I can go for the best coffee creamers and then say my collection of the best coffee creamers for the description. Then we can go down to the URL path and let's make this a little bit simpler. Call this coffee creamers just like this. And then once again, we want to add in an image that we can get from Pexels. Once this has all been added, we can then also choose a category. Now the categories we will get to in a second. You can come back in here and edit this at any time. So for this, I will just go category A for now. Once again, we will cover this in a minute. If we go to save, you can see the best coffee creamers has now been added. However, you will notice with this new page, it's inactive status. So to go ahead and activate this, we just use these three dots on the right hand side. We can then click on activate. And as you can see, that post is now active and people can access this on the website. If we click into this, however, you will see that this is a completely blank template. So all we are going to do is just use these tools on the right hand side to bring in certain areas. For example, I can bring in a headline and just say, here is my list of the best coffee creamers. And then we can add in some text underneath this and start typing out the blog article. Now, another tip that I want to give you guys here is it can take a while to type out blog posts, right? Like it's the most strenuous part of a blog, but using ChatGPT that I mentioned earlier, if you skipped over the section where we bought our domain, this is a completely free website called ChatGPT. I will leave a link down in the description. And this is going to allow us to effectively automate the entire blog writing process. So this blog is the best coffee creamers. I can go here to ChatGPT and say, create me a blog article on the best coffee creamers. And just like this, it's going to spit me out an entire blog article. So all I have to do here is copy and paste this. This is all copyright free as this is all from ChatGPT. And then you have two options. You can either leave this as it is, or you can go through and make changes, which is going to be a lot faster than typing out this entire blog article yourself. So in here, this will look better if it's aligned here. Then we just add these different sections in between. Make sure these are all in paragraphs. And just like that, let's go ahead and make this bold. We can now save changes, view this on the website, and this is how the blog post is going to look. As you can see, it's fantastic, and this took me like 5 minutes to create. So there's two different ways, as I said, that you can do this. You can either edit these, or you can go in and create your own blank template and start editing it from scratch. Now, once you have created all of the different blog posts and articles that you want on your site, we can now get over to categories. Now, categories are pretty simple, and the reason that categories exist is so that you can organize your website in a better way. So as you can see, at the moment, these are called category A, category B, category C, category D. These are terrible names for categories. So let's go over to the category section, and you can see these are all pre-made by Systeme. So what I would recommend doing here is just going to these three dots and deleting every single one of these. So once the categories have been deleted, we can now go ahead and create new categories. Now, depending on the type of blog you are creating, maybe you want one category, maybe you want two, maybe you want 5. But what we can do here is basically separate all of our blog posts into different categories. For example, I can create a category on blog posts that are about coffee beans. Then I can create a new category for all of my blog posts that are about coffee creamers, all of my blog posts that are about cool tools that you can use to create the perfect coffee. So you kind of get the idea there of what you can do with categories. I'm just going to keep this nice and simple and just call this coffee. I'm just only going to have one category. Then we can leave the rest of this blank. The SEO title, this is super important if you want to rank on Google to rank up higher. So I'm going to call this the best coffee reviews. And then for the SEO description, you want to tag this with a bunch of different keywords that will help your blog rank on Google. Once again, we can turn to our friend ChatGPT here, and I can say, create me an SEO description for my blog on coffee reviews. We can go ahead and hit enter, and then this right here is going to be an SEO description that is absolutely filled with keywords. So we can just copy this and then go ahead and paste this into the SEO description, hit save. Okay, maybe this is a little bit too long. So we can either delete some of this, or I can just go back to ChatGPT and say, make it 250 characters. And then as you can see, ChatGPT is going to shorten it for us, and this will now be accepted just like that. So we have just created our first category here. As I say, you can create a lot of different categories and then add your blog posts in. So total blog posts in this category is 0 right now. So let's go ahead and add some of our blog posts to this category. So to do this, we just want to go back over to posts, find the post that you would like to add to that category. And then over here on the left-hand side, we can go into settings once again. And then once the settings area loads up, right at the bottom here, you should see categories. So all of the categories will pop up. Right now, of course, I only have coffee. So let's add this one. And then I also want to add the best coffee beans. So I can go to these three dots, click on settings right here, and then add this to the coffee category and click save. As you can see, these are now both in the coffee category. And if I go over to the categories area, this has not updated yet. Let me hit refresh. You can see that I now have 2 blog posts in there. Now, just in this example, to show you how this is going to look on the website, I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of these into this category. So I will be back once this has done. So these are now all added to the coffee category. So once you have all of your blog posts and you now have your blog posts in different categories, what we can then do is go over to pages right here, click into the home page, and then as you can see in recent articles, these are all still the default article. So what we can now do, now that we have everything into categories, is we can click into this. And then over here on the left-hand side, you can see the category. So if I just go down here and select the coffee category, if we go ahead and save changes, if you click on this eye icon to get like a preview URL, then it's not going to change. This is something a little bit strange with Systeme.io. I don't know why it is this way. However, it is. The way that we can actually view this is we want to back out completely. Once again, make sure your changes are saved. And then from here, if we now go view blog, you can see all of the articles are going to show up here. We can click into this one, for example, the best coffee creamers, and that is going to direct people straight into that article. So that is awesome. And one more point that I want to give you with categories, what we can do is create a bunch of different categories, and then the posts that you want to show on your homepage, you can create a new category called something like latest post. And then rather than just showing one category about the best coffee creamers or the best coffee beans, you can collate your favorite articles into this latest posts and actually have that being shown on your website. So as I say, we have now completed this homepage. The next thing that we are going to do is we need to go to this post page list. Now in here, most of the heavy lifting is already done for us. One thing that I will say is we can change the layout of how this looks. So right now we are going to have all of the blog posts that are lined up like this. Alternatively, what we can do is delete this section completely. And then over on the left hand side, if you scroll down to the blog section, we have a few different things here. So we can either add in the latest blog posts carousel, which will change how this looks completely into more of a carousel look. This wants to be a little bit further up, just like that. And then people will be able to scroll along using these arrows and look at the different categories. So you can add any of these in. The one that I usually do go for is this latest blog post. So I think it just does look the best. As you can see, struggling a little bit there. The reason that I add this and have it in this way is just so that people can scroll down. It looks the best. So that's how I like to have mine. And then at the top here, you will notice it says this component will be replaced by the blog's category title. Do not remove it. This is not true. We do actually want to go ahead and remove this. I will just show you and give you an example of this. Let's back out and then go to view blog. If we now go to articles, you can see that the articles do show up, but there's no title here. So although it says don't remove it, we actually do want to go back into the post list page and delete this, and then delete the blog category description. And then all we are going to do is add a headline text above the blog articles and title this to the latest blog articles. So you can either have it like this, called the latest blog articles. I recommend turning the size up and then making this bold. You can either have the latest blog articles, or you can go ahead and title this like, maybe I want to title this my favorite coffee articles. It's completely up to you what you want to title this. However, if we now save the changes and back out, you will see that we now do have the title there. If we click into articles, the title is going to show up, rather than before where even though it told us not to remove it, it doesn't show up. Once again, a bit of a weird flaw with system.io there. So we now have the first two pages right here, all customized. The next thing that we are going to do is go into this about page. And right here, once again, we can use the editor just to go through and edit this. So we can change the title to maybe my mission, depending on if you are doing this by yourself. And then you just want to go ahead and add an about me section. Now we do actually want to go down and just delete both of these sections here with these people and our team. And then as you can see, this is just a much nicer page. What I would maybe do here is go to the top and just add a bit more line height to get some more space in between. And then what I also love to do in this page is just add a nice little image in between these two sections. So I can just go ahead and drag in an image here, add it between these two. And then if I just grab a picture of a man from Pexels, let's just use this guy. I can then click on the image and add in the image that I just got from Pexels. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this if you don't have a picture of yourself or you don't want to show yourself on the website. I wouldn't recommend adding a picture of a random guy here. It just doesn't really make sense. But if you want to show yourself, show who you are in this mission area, then you can add in an image. From here, it's pretty simple. We would just go down and start editing this text. And once again, you can use ChatGPT to create this entire page for you. So that is the About Us page. We can then go to the contact page, and this is effectively already done for us. We have this nice little field here, which people can fill out if they want to get in contact with you. And when people fill in the contact form, you will be able to access this with the main, let's back out of this, on the main channels up here. So if we go to dashboard and we go to the main dashboard, in the live updates, anytime somebody contacts you or types out a message here, it's going to show up under the live updates so that you can see and respond to that. Now, if you want to go ahead and add in a new page yourself, you can click on create in this pages section. What else would this website need? I'll just type example. I don't really think there's anything else this website needs specifically, but if you do want to add in a new page, you can do so by going through this section, click create a blog page, and then we can click into this new page that we created and go ahead and edit this using this drag and drop editor, dragging in texts and all of these different elements. So that is how you can create a blog with System.io. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy.